Hi everyone. In this video, I'm going to show you the capabilities of Copilot in Excel. As you may be knowing, Copilot is a tool that can understand natural language. That is, whatever command we give in simple English, it understands that. Then it has generative AI capabilities to generate steps to solve the problem or to write Excel functions and even write code. And lastly, it is able to perform actions in Excel such as it can insert new column with the required formula or insert pivot tables, charts, etc. These three abilities combined makes Copilot an excellent assistant in Excel. You don't need to do much of manual labor now. Copilot can do almost everything that we used to do as analysts. Now to demonstrate this, I have taken 10 tasks of increasing complexity that I usually give to my students who are part of my Excel training. It starts with simple formula writing, then to creating charts and pivot tables, and lastly, even running Python within Excel to perform advanced analytics. With this, you will clearly know what Copilot can and cannot do. So let's begin. Now in Excel, if you are using the latest Microsoft 365 license, you will see the Copilot option here. It is in the home menu and the last box is Copilot. If you click on this, you will notice that it says that Copilot only works when autosave is turned on, which means that this file will be saved on OneDrive and autosave will be turned on. Only then you can use Copilot within Excel, even if you are on Excel Online or Excel Desktop. Wherever you work, you need an active internet connection and the file should be saved on OneDrive. So I have to click this, select my OneDrive, and now I can use the Copilot. Here are some suggestions given by Copilot of what all I can do. And this is the box where I'll be writing my question or my query or whatever task I want to be performed. Now the 10 tasks that I have created are in 10 sheets of this Excel file. And in each sheet, I have added data. And I have also already written the task that I want to perform. These same tasks I give to my students also. And I have not changed the language much. I will put the same task as it is in this text box and send it to Copilot, and we will check whether it can solve that problem or not. So let's begin. The first task is, this was some sales data. Here I have order date and ship date. I want it to create a new column called ship time where I want the difference between these two dates to be written here, just so that I know how much time was taken between when the order was placed and when it was shipped. So to calculate that, we need the difference of days between these two dates. So this is my question. It says create a column ship time to find the processing time in days, that is order date minus shipping date, for each order. I'll just copy this, paste it here and send this. So first it is understanding the data. So it will analyze where all data is present in my sheet, what are the headers of the table, and compare it with what all is asked in the question. You can notice that it has identified that table because it has a different color now. And now you can see that this is the response it has given, that ship time calculates the number of days. So we have to do D2 minus C2, that is ship date minus order date. That's the right answer. And it has shown a small sample also, that if I minus this date from this date, I'll get 4 days. That's right. Now it has also given me the option of insert column. If I hover over it, I get a glimpse of the column which will be inserted. If that is what I want, I have to simply click on this button and you can see that a new column with the desired formula has been inserted. Now, if you are someone who knows how to insert formulas and create these columns very fast, then I'm sure that you would say writing it in Copilot will take more time than doing it yourself. But the point is, if you don't know the formula, or if you have any confusion, or if the formula is very complicated, you can ask it to Copilot and it can do it. And it can even insert a new column with that formula. Let's jump on to the next one, where we will be asking it to do a conditional formula. So the problem is very simple. I want to identify students who have scored less than 35 marks in at least one of these subjects. And in front of those students, I want to mark them as fail. So if a student has failed in any one course, I want to mark them as fail. Now, this can be done in two ways. You can use nested ifs, or you can use if with or statement. Let's see how Copilot solves this problem. Again, it will find the data in the sheet, analyze it, and here it has created this formula. It has used the min function along with if. So minimum of all these three. If that one is less than 35, then write fail, otherwise pass. I think this is also the right function. This will also give the desired result. And if you are satisfied, click on insert. Now you can check any one value and the student has failed. That's right. And let's see this one. In two subjects more than 35, but in one it was 34. So it should be fail. So the calculation is working perfectly. So till now we have established that Copilot can help us write simple formula and conditional formulas. Another most commonly used feature is lookup functions. When you have two tables and you want to get values from second table into the first table. For example, here I have purchase transactions. So which user ID has purchased which all products of what value. And there is a second table in which there are details of each user ID, their gender, their age category, etc. Now, if I want to see the total purchase done by each age category, one part of information is in this table, one part is in this table. I need to join these two. To do that, we commonly use lookup functions to bring the value of age category into this table corresponding to the user ID. Once that is done, we use pivot tables to aggregate purchase values on age categories. Lookup functions are a must know. Let's see if Copilot can also create a lookup function to get age categories into this table. So this is my task. Get customer age category against each product sales. Now there are two tables in this. Will it be able to identify both the tables? Let's see. You can see, since I did not clearly mention that there are two tables, which table is to be used for getting the user ID against which we need to apply the age categories. It was not able to clearly understand that there are two tables and from where the lookup value is to be taken and where it has to be inserted. As humans, when we see this sheet, we are able to solve it. But if I change this prompt a little bit and make it more informative, let's see if it can solve it then or not. Now, I have explained it a little bit more. I want the customer age category in column F corresponding to the user ID in column B based on lookup values in table between column J and L. Let's copy this, put it here, and let's see if this time it is able to generate the right result. Now, as you can see, I have got this response. In order to answer your question, the data range B1 to L6274, which means that it is considering the data not in two tables, but as one single table from column B to column L, which is why it will not be able to generate the response correctly. Now, when we are working with lookup tables, we often have two tables. So it will become very difficult for Excel to generate the lookup function properly using Copilot. Even if I put this table in some other sheet and reference that sheet, still it will not be able to do it properly. The only way to get some idea of how to do is you put only one table, that is this table here, remove this table from the sheet, and then in your prompt, you tell the structure of lookup table that it has three columns and you have to match user ID in the first column and get the value of third column. Then it will give you a formula which you can copy paste here. So that is the only way that I have found successful while using lookup tables. Sometime it is able to give the right formula with two tables also, but it has failed a lot of times. So my suggestion is, if you are working on lookup functions which have multiple tables, always check the response that the Copilot gives. Let's move on to the next part, sorting and filtering. Now, sorting and filtering is itself very easy in Excel, but sometimes the question is formulated in such a way that we might get confused. So let's see if the question itself is put into Copilot, can it solve it or not? The question says that we want the table to be in ascending order of user ID, and only those users should be there who are in the age category of 18 to 25 and are married. So it has to be sorted, and then age filter and marital status filter has to be applied. Let's see if that works. Now it is saying that I will do these three changes. First is I'll apply a custom sort on the column at index 0. Then I will apply a value filter in C column and a value filter in D column. Let's say apply it, and you can see that user IDs are sorted in ascending order. Age has a filter of 18 to 25 and marital status has a filter of married. So I think this was done properly. If there is single table, you want to do anything with this table, Copilot can do it flawlessly. Another thing that a lot of students struggle with is conditional formatting. Let's see if Copilot can do conditional formatting of this table. I have two tasks here. First is to conditionally format math score using gradient data bars. So if you have not seen gradient data bars, let's see if Copilot can insert it and show you. Conditional formatting will basically make it easier for us to see the data and understand which one has higher value and which one has lower. So this is what our data bar looks like. If this is looking fine, click on apply. So based on the value, the cell will be colored to a certain amount. So this is 90. So a lot of this cell is covered. This is 47. So less amount of this cell is covered, and so on. So minimum value will have 0 coverage, maximum value will have full coverage, and all the other values will have corresponding percentage coverage in between. This makes it very easy to find out which is the largest value, which is the smallest value, which values are in between, and so on. Similarly, let's format the reading score, but this time with a two color scale. Red for the lowest value and green for the highest value. So let's take this. So it is suggesting that a color scale will look like this. It will have red to green. Let's apply. And you can see that the reading score values have now different color. Red for the minimum value, green for the maximum value. and the mixture of these two colors in between. So clearly, all kind of formatting, even conditional formatting, can be easily done by Copilot. Whatever colors, whatever highlights you want to do in your data, those can be done perfectly using Copilot. Now let's move on to some advanced analysis, which includes aggregating data using pivot table and visualizing the data using charts. Pivot table is one of the most used and most useful tool in Excel. It is used to aggregate the data. So if I want to see sales of each item type, I have to aggregate the data on each item type. That can be done easily using pivot table. So here is a table of some superstore which is selling different types of products, and at the end I have the corresponding sales amount for each product. Now if I want to find the total sales for different outlets, I have to aggregate the sales on different outlets. So I will take this, let's put this here. Let's see if it can create a pivot table aggregating the sales. Now you can see that it has aggregated the data, but it has not inserted the pivot table. Let's see if I ask it to insert this pivot table, will it do it or not? Now this time you can see that a button is here, add to a new sheet, click on it, and this time we have the total sales for each outlet. And this is a pivot table. If you click on it, you can see the things are set. Outlet identifier is put in the rows. Sum of item outlet sales is put here, and you are getting the right aggregation. Similarly, if I want to create a cross tabulation, that is, I want item types on one side, outlet types on the other side, and then in each cell, I want total sales. Let's see if it can create that also. Again, it has created that pivot table, but the button for inserting it is not active. Again, I'll type add this pivot table to a new sheet. Now it is saying that I've added pivot table to a new sheet, but you still have to click on this button so that it puts it into sheet 2. But now if you look at it, it has only added item type, not the store type. I also wanted it to put outlet type in the columns to create this cross tabulation. So in this way, there can be some mistakes when you are using Copilot to create pivot tables. Always cross check, look in the rows, columns and values, and if you have applied any filter also, check the filter values also. The point of this demonstration was this only. I do not want to just say that Copilot can create pivot tables and it can do everything. I wanted to show you that although it can create pivot tables, there are chances that it will not be able to do it correctly. There might be some errors, and it is very important that you cross check. Now let's look at the charting capabilities. So here we will be using the same data that we have used earlier of supermarket sales. So first I want a column chart comparing the sales of different outlet types. Let's see if it can do that. Again, most of the charting where you are also aggregating, that will be done via pivot tables and pivot charts. So it has created this chart. I can ask it to insert this chart into a new sheet, just like I have done it before. Similarly, I can ask it to draw a line chart, and instead of draw, I'll say insert a line chart showing the sales of supermarket. Now it has created this line chart. Let me click on add to a new sheet button, and here you can see that it has first created a pivot table with years as rows, sum of sales as values. It has put outlet type in filters, and supermarket type 1 has been set as a filter. These values have then been converted to a pivot chart. So now we have the yearly sales of supermarket type 1. This is the perfect analysis for this task, and it has done it perfectly. So it can do charting also. You have to just see that the data it is using, the pivot table for that has been created correctly or not. And the chart drawn by Copilot will be most of the times correct only. The next task I want to check is whether it can write macros and save macros or not. Now here is a very small table, and the macro that I want to create is I get these tables every time. I want to format these tables using a macro. So I want a macro which can make this top row bold, change the cell colors of top row to light blue, adds a thick black border to the entire table, and centrally aligns all the values in the cells. So these are all the tasks that I wanted to do. Let's see if it can do that. Instead of record, I'll say create. Now it has not written a macro. It is telling me that I can use advanced analysis to do that. And what that means is that it will be doing this using Python formulas. Earlier also when I have tried this, sometimes it gives us the VBA code which we can manually put and save and create as a macro, but it has never created a macro on its own. So you can ask it to write VBA code and use that to create a macro, but it directly does not create a macro for you to use. But it is saying that it can do this with Python. Let's see how it does that. So again, it has used Python to analyze the code, and based on the code, it has created the VBA code which I can use to create my macro, save it, and then run it later on. So it can help us in generating VBA code, but not creating macro directly. Now that you have already seen that it has the capability of doing analysis using Python, and you might also be knowing that Excel recently launched that you can use Python in Excel. So if you are on the latest version of Microsoft 365, you can go to your formulas tab and you might be able to see this option of insert Python. So you can write Python code in your Excel sheets. You can run Python code and get the result back. Now, great thing is if you combine the powers of Python with Copilot, you can do very advanced analysis on the data which you have in Excel. This means that you can build predictive models, you can do linear regression, logistic regression, build decision tree models, etc. and other advanced analysis on the data which is present in Excel only. You don't have to go to Python, get data from different files and do analysis there. All of that can be done within Excel. Now let's see what all happens when I ask Copilot to perform analysis using Python. So here is the data. This is a very commonly used house price data. Here, based on these variables, the task is to predict the house price. This is the training data. That means we already have the price of the house available to us. And based on this, we want to create a machine learning model which can predict house price if all these variable values are given. So let's see if we can build this linear regression model or other ML models on this data or not. Let's open Copilot, and here is the task that I want to do. Using Python, perform linear regression analysis to predict the price based on the values of other variables. So this is the task that is to be done. I have copied it. I'm pasting it here. You can see the analysis has started. It has used Python to get the data and save it as a data frame. So if you know Python, you know that there is a pandas data frame. It has created that. And based on that, it has created a linear regression model with the mean squared error of the model as 29.98 and the model's intercept is approximately 6.85. Now it is saying that let me know if you need a detailed breakdown of the coefficients. So yes, we do need that. Let's say I need a detailed breakdown of the coefficients. And here are the coefficients of each of the variable. You can also get their p-value. You can also ask for the r-square value of this entire model. And based on that, you can get a final model which can predict the house price for any new property for which you have all these other values available. So if you have all these values, you can predict the house price. You can see that it was able to create the linear regression model. Let's see if it can build some advanced models like decision tree. And again, you can see that it is able to create a decision tree model also. In the decision tree model, the mean square error is 13.86, which was 29.98 in the linear regression model. So probably the decision tree model is performing better. You can see the entire Python code also. It is using sklearn library from which there is a decision tree regressor, and using that it has done this analysis. You can see that it has a lot of capabilities. You can use Python to do predictive analytics. You can even use Python to create complete dashboards. So if you give this prompt of creating a dashboard and visualizing the data, it will find out relevant variables, create their corresponding charts, and show those charts to you. Since this table does not have such variables for visualizing, I am not running this. But if you have any data which you want to visualize and create a dashboard, give this a try. Simply ask Copilot to use Python to create a dashboard. If you don't use Python, you can still create charts which are inbuilt in Excel. But if you write this, that using Python, it has to be done, then you will see that again, it will use Python to create the data frame, use matplotlib and other libraries to create the charts and show them to you. And the use of Python is not limited there. It is not only for predictive analytics or for visualizing the data. You can also do sentiment analysis or natural language processing. So it has some libraries which are capable of doing sentiment analysis. For example, here I have a sheet which has feedback from my students. So these are actual feedback that I receive from students in my Excel course. If I want to summarize the feedback, or if I want to get a hint of what is the common theme of what they are saying, I can simply put all those comments in Excel and ask Excel to summarize these. So if I go here and put this here, summarize the feedback, send it. You can see that has loaded the data frame. Here's the preview of the data frame. And here it is summarizing the feedback by word frequency. So that's the first analysis it has done. And based on this, now I can ask it to perform sentiment analysis on the comment to classify them as positive, neutral, or negative. It's also, I can also ask it to generate a word cloud to see which word has been said more often. So let's see what are the most commonly used words. So this chart has been created using Python only. You cannot create a word cloud in Excel. So this word cloud has been generated using Python in Excel. You can see that course was the most said word. So this is the biggest size. And other words that are popping out are probably good, great, thank, excel, understand, etc. So gives me a understanding of what is the overall mood or what is the overall feedback for the course. Now these were all the tasks that I had for Copilot in Excel. If I have to give you a quick summary of what all we did, where all it was good and where all it lagged a little bit, it was able to do all the tasks of generating and inserting functions. Only in lookup functions, there were two tables, and when there are two tables which are separated by space or are in different sheets, it struggles to create the right function properly. So that is one point where it struggled. In the pivot table also, when we created a pivot table, we saw that in one of the pivot tables, it was not created properly. We wanted a cross tabulation and it did not pick one variable. So always when you are creating a pivot table, make sure that all the fields have been put in their proper place. In macros, we noticed that it is not able to write the VBA code and save it also. It can give you the VBA code, which you can save manually and create a macro. And the rest of the task, including Python, it was able to do properly. So everything else was done flawlessly. It is no doubt a great tool. It has great capabilities, and I'm sure with the rate at which it is getting improved, all these small issues will also be solved very quickly. I hope with this video, you get complete and clear idea of what all Copilot can do and what it cannot do. That's all in this video. Thank you.